A few weeks ago, I put out a video talking about minimalistic 22 LR survival rifles. And to be perfectly honest, I had no idea that this video would take off as well as it did. I have over 70,000 views and it's been out for just over 4 weeks. And what I had in this particular video was a Henry US survival rifle, a 1022 takedown in a Magpul backpacker stock, and a Chiappa Little Badger. And these are three survival rifles that you can readily find today for relatively good prices. Again, with the exceptions that I have a lot of extra work in my takedown. And they're things that I could consider something you could throw in a backpack and carry with you in the case where you had to be a little bit discreet in carrying a firearm with you, but you needed something for survival. And anytime you make a video like this, you're bound to get tons and tons of comments, especially when you have this many views. And I had some that were well founded, like the plus one is ridiculous. You can't have anything chambered when the guns are broken down. What do you mean 70 plus one? You can't store that extra round in the chamber when the rifle's broken down. And I agree with those. But then you get some like, I wonder how many lives have been saved by a survival firearm. What a grift. Well, I bet anybody that ever had to use a single shot survival rifle to kill an animal and feed their family would disagree with you. And I think this is another pretty good one as well. You have the same exact backpacker stock. It's a novel idea. I think it's completely illogical in a situation to be survival or backpacking where a firearm might be needed, but it has to be disassembled in a backpack. Additionally, in a survival world, who would be disassembling and reassembling their firearms? The entire concept is just a fantasy world mental masturbation. Wow, you've never had to plan ahead and think that maybe in some cases you had to have a bug out bag or maybe a get home bag where you needed a gun to be a little bit discreet and you might have to duck behind a building and put it together if you ever needed it? I think of those situations once in a while, and while I think they are kind of farcical, when you look back over the past couple of years with all the riots and things like that that we had, it doesn't always seem that nonsensical. Now, I did get a lot of good suggestions coming from viewers on other firearms that they thought would be something that was good. The Marlin Papoose came up several times. And again, the Marlin Papoose is a great rifle and a great survival rifle, kind of similar to the 1022 takedown. And honestly, I probably would have added these in, but I have to tell you, running a YouTube channel when you do these type of reviews is not cheap. And the money I do make on my channel is not enough to support buying every single gun that's out there. Here's another one, the Savage Model 64 takedown, which ironically looks pretty much like a spin-off of the Marlin Papoose. Now, these are readily available and relatively inexpensive, but again, I can't buy them all. Here's another good suggestion, the M6 or the pack rifle. The M6 is a really cool over-under design with a shotgun barrel and a rifle barrel. And then again, the pack rifle, very cool, slim, small, and pretty good. Somebody else suggested a 1022 and a Desert Tech Trek 22 stock, which, while it's kind of cool, it's also kind of ugly. And being a bullpup, it is a little bit smaller, but it's still not that small. Probably one of the best suggestions, and for me it's cool because it's a classic, is the Marlin 39A. This is a lever action takedown rifle. Great design. Another one is the Savage Model 42 takedown. That again is an over-under style rifle that you can break in half and store. The Savage Rascal was recommended by a couple people because it's very small, but that's still a single shot 22 as well, and it doesn't break down. Somebody else mentioned a Mossberg Plinkster because they're very cheap, but again, it's not a takedown rifle. Another one was the Savage Model 64, and again, probably the classiest takedown model you can get. This is an over-under style with a shotgun and a rifle barrel as well. And this comment probably stuck with me more than others. This guy suggested using a Ruger 1022, but compact with a Butler Creek stainless steel folder stock. Now, if we go back a ways in my videos and look at some of my older 1022 videos, some of you might have seen back in the day, I actually did have a Ruger 1022 in a Butler Creek folding stock with a scope on it. Ironically, I didn't keep it for that long. I'm not really sure why I sold it, but when I started getting into all the other Target models that I had, I think I decided to sell it in favor of something else. And at the time, I think I sold one of these stocks for like over $300. Well, when I saw that comment, I started thinking again that maybe a folding stock 1022 would be a pretty good option. So, with some internet searching and a little help from my good buddy Justin over at Buckeye Ballistics, I was able to locate and secure a Ruger 1022 folding stock. And back to modern times, I needed a 1022 donor rifle. This is a modern 18.5-inch barrel carbine, something that you can find just about anywhere, and it's just about the least expensive one that you can find at this particular point in time. And being that I wanted to make this as good a functioning gun as I possibly could, there's always a few things that I add on to these to make them better right out of the box. So the Ruger extended magazine release, these are around $20 to $25. The Volquartsen auto bolt release, where basically you lock the bolt back, but when you just pull the bolt back, it automatically releases. And then the good old fashioned $12 M Carbo trigger spring kit, which comes with just 2 springs. And this tends to lighten the action up a little bit when you're shooting it. Now, doing the work on this is very simple. However, I can't show it, but this is the factory magazine release. They work fine. They're just really short, and I do like the extended ones better. And then you can see that original bolt release there. And before I did the spring kit, I did a trigger weight test, and it came in at an astonishing 3 pounds, 2.9 ounces. So I'm almost wondering if they accidentally did some BX work in this trigger or something. I have no idea. Took me about a half an hour to put the parts in the trigger group on this, and honestly, I probably could do it a lot faster, but I don't do this very frequently anymore. After doing the trigger work, it only dropped it by a couple of ounces down to about 3 pounds on average, but it's a great trigger. Again, I think that honestly they might have done some work on this trigger at the factory or put the wrong spring kit in it from the factory. These Butler Creek folding stocks were really popular in the mid 90s all the way up, I think, until the early 2000s. They've been out of production for quite a few years, and they are pretty desirable. Again, when I had these originally, one of them came on a rifle that I bought off a friend of mine or traded from a friend of mine, and then I ended up buying another one off of eBay. And again, I sold them both, I think, because the prices were skyrocketing about 5 or 6 years ago. But this one actually came at a pretty good price. I think I paid around $130 for it. And you can see when the butt stock is folded up, it actually does take quite a bit of length of pull off of it. It does have a pistol grip with a cap on it, and when you remove that cap, there is extra storage space in the grip. So this would be a good place to store a whole bunch of extra ammo, because you won't be able to stuff another 1022 magazine in there, but I bet you could probably fit about 30 rounds, maybe even 40 or 50 rounds of 22 long rifle in that. Here you can see the two stocks side by side, and again, this 1022 carbine is just a factory length barrel. I think it's 18 1/4, 18.5 inches. And I do have some thoughts on that, because just folding up the stock doesn't really make this that much of a shorter package. It's kind of like the Trek 22 stock. You still have a full-length barrel. You're just shortening it by folding the stock in on itself, so it does stick out pretty far. So my thoughts on this in putting it all together is that eventually, in order to make this a more compact unit and something that could be considered more of a minimalistic rifle, you'd probably have to put a shorter barrel on it. So I might have something coming with a shorter barrel, but here you can see the whole action in the barrel assembly in that stock, and with it folded up again, you cut off almost a foot in length of the rifle. But you still do have that full-length receiver and that 18.5-inch barrel, so it is still a pretty long package. And if you consider how the 1022 takedown, the Chiappa Little Badger, and the Henry U.S. Survival Rifle break down in store, they're still about half the length of this particular rifle, even when it's folded up. So it may not be the most minimalistic, but based on the comments I've received on my videos and after doing a fair amount of thinking, this might be one of the better options, because the deployment time is literally just how long it takes you to flip that stock open, and realistically you can shoot it with iron sights with the stock folded up just using the pistol grip, and it would still be fine. So when I do my range testing, I will use this rifle because it does have standard rifle sights. At any rate, I'm glad to have another one of these Butler Creek folding stock rifles in my possession, And I think the commenter who made the comment about the folding stock, that was a really good idea. I do take comments from my viewers and I do, implement them when I can. You got to remember, though, this channel is fully funded by me with the exception of the little bit of money I make from ad revenue, and it does cost a lot to run this channel. So thanks again for watching another edition of Cranky Gun Reviews. God bless America. Support your 2A rights. Get out there and shoot. And you remember, if someone asks you to give up some of your freedom for the greater good, remind them that freedom is always the greater good.